All right, can you guys hear me okay?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, let me get myself situated and you can see my screen, right? We're Truth Financial. We're going to go over your financial plan. Can you see that okay?
Yes.
Okay. All right, well, David and Mary, thanks for meeting with us today. I'm just quickly scrolling through your confidential and comprehensive plan here. We will not share this with anybody. This is the table of contents. This document here is for you guys to take with you and review on your own. If, as you have any questions, you can send questions that you have from anything you read that you just don't understand. We'll get right back with you. So that's everything laid out. Page numbers for all your chapters here in the content. We went over your profile and your goals in the previous meeting, but we're going to quickly recap those. You guys are still in Texas, healthy. David, you're planning on living till 92. Mary, we're forecasting you to make it to 96. You have two children, Elaine and Eric. Elaine has two kids, John and Lisa. John and Lisa will be going to Texas Tech in the years we put there, and you plan on funding that education. Elaine also gets a $100,000 a year gift since she's a widow, and you guys are just helping her out while her kids are still at home. All right, we have your home addresses in Lubbock, Texas. We have your employment information there. Has any of this in your profile changed? Does that look good?
Yes.
Yes. Thank you.
Okay. We're going to quickly summarize your client goals. Let me see here. I know that legacy related, you want to leave 2 million to Elaine, 2 million to Eric, and 1 million to charitable causes. Currently for family support, you got 100K a year to Elaine through 2036. You have a $500,000 lump sum gift to Eric in 2028 when him and his wife go to purchase a home. For your grandchildren, you're going to fund John and Lisa's college educations. And you want to provide a $125,000 gift to each grandchild as soon as they complete. For retirement, you guys want to retire by age 65, which is January of 2028, keeping your current lifestyle throughout retirement and allocating $80,000 a year for travel for the first 20 years. Major purchases, we have vehicles. David, yours is going to be worth about 80 grand every 5 years, what you agreed upon. Mary, you don't need a car as often as David does, 40,000 every 8 years. I don't know how David swung that one, but good job there. For home renovations, you're looking at $200,000 worth of repairs in 2038 as you get older and need accommodations. Your debt payoff goals is to pay your mortgage off by 2032, your pool loan by 2028, and auto loans in the 2027-28 time range. For charitable intent, you want to continue your 20 grand per year in charitable giving. You want to start a scholarship that will fund $500,000 in TTU scholarships in 2036. And for tax strategy, we're going to use a tax efficient withdrawal strategy, pre-tax and Roth accounts to keep your taxes as low as possible so we can use your money for you, your family, and your legacy instead of giving it to Uncle Sam. Regarding estate and legacy, like we talked about, we're going to leave 2 million to Elaine, 2 million to Eric, and 1 million to charity at the second death. Any questions on those goals? Do those still seem accurate?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, good. And unlike the previous meeting where we kind of had a lot of back and forth, I will be talking more here just because we have a lot of information to cover in a short amount of time. We can go over questions, interrupt me throughout, or we can follow up after. And of course, what you'll probably end up doing is taking this comprehensive plan back, reviewing it, and then probably reviewing it again and then sending more questions. Let's quickly go over your executive summary. This will give us an overall feel of your entire plan. This puts together every major part of your financial life and will show how your resources support your goals today, throughout retirement, and there's that legacy word again, across generations. The plan focuses on strengthening your cash flow, which is in a little bit of deficit right now, It'll reduce your taxes, which we have strategies that will save you significant amount of tax payments. We're going to protect against major risks. That's where we look at your end-of-life care, disability, property and casualty, those kinds of policies, and even life insurance. We'll improve your retirement security. And then finally, we'll look at the estate plan, and this is what we'll use to pass wealth efficiently, basically keeping the government and the probate courts out of it. We're going to use a couple of different strategies with the retained life estate combined with the charitable remainder annuity trust and a grantor living trust for the rest of your property. So cash flow and net worth. We're showing a net worth of $9.4 million, which includes 7.9 in liquid assets and investable assets. Your home is valued at 1.5 million, and your total debt is quite low considering your home value and your net worth. It's at a little over $500,000. Currently, though, your cash flow is showing a deficit of negative $65,000 and some change. We're gonna tackle this gap and make sure that we can cut somewhere or change some other things to give you more room. We're probably looking at moving $70,000 worth of cash flow to make sure this deficit is out of the picture. This plan targets 3 targeted adjustments. We're going to reduce your discretionary spending by $30,000. We're going to reduce your lifestyle spending by $15,000 down to $150 a year. And we're going to pay off that personal loan. That'll help your cash flow significantly. Together, these changes improve your cash flow by about 70 million per year, and that was the target. We have our recommendations for you, and we also have an alternative recommendation that doesn't seem to align with your goals, but would also work if you would prefer it. We'll look at both of those when we get into the details. For income tax planning, this is really a tax strategy to reduce how much taxes you pay in your lifetime, not just next year, not just for the next couple of years. This is even after you pass. The key actions include a coordinated withdrawal strategy, keeping you in the correct income tax bracket to lower your taxes. We're going to look at Roth conversions, and we'll only do them when it's convenient for our tax brackets, meaning your tax brackets could use the benefit of that Roth conversion. I think we'll go into the details later, but we'll start that in 2028. We're going to look at the rest of your investments and make sure they're tax efficient, and we'll do an annual review of your tax projections. In the retirement planning section, this is just where we're going to look at how much money you're going to have throughout retirement. We'll do a retirement needs analysis review. We'll do these retirement projections and reviews every 1 to 2 years. We'll rebalance investments as needed and adjust your withdrawal strategies based on not just tax planning, but also market conditions. There's better times to take more withdrawals and better times to take higher withdrawals. So we'll look at all those higher and lower withdrawals depending on how the market conditions are doing. We'll also review the risk management and insurance. This insurance is just to protect you against major financial risks. We'll review all your policies, update coverage as needed. And as you can see, we do have a couple of recommendations that will help you. You do have some gaps as far as your protection in the risk management section. And we'll maintain premiums aligned with your cash flow. We won't do anything that'll put you in the negative. We'll look at investment planning. And this is where we're looking at diversifying your portfolio. Currently, David, you have a risk score of 70 based on our testing, and Mary, yours is 60, so David can be a little more aggressive. Our implementation of this will include the portfolio review that we'll do annually, rebalancing your target allocations and monitoring market conditions, and we'll make adjustments as needed. Sometimes it's better to be in funds, sometimes it's better to be in stocks, sometimes it's better to be in metals or crypto or Bitcoin. We'll look at all of that and adjust as needed, taking any capital gains into account. And then finally, we'll close it all out by looking at your estate planning, making sure that we leave 2 million to Eric, 2 million to Elaine, 1 million to charity. I would add a fourth one, keep the courts out of it so that what you say goes. A will doesn't necessarily cover this, so we do recommend a will if you do not want to go the trust route. But we'll talk about that more. There are some upfront costs associated with the 2 trusts we recommend. And the implementation of your estate will include signing the trust, if you follow our recommendations, signing the powers of attorney, which we have a couple, and any advanced medical directives. We'll retitle assets also into the trust. We'll update all your beneficiary designations to make sure that the people you are leaving any money or accounts to will pay either no taxes or minimal taxes. And then we'll complete the retained life estate and charitable remainder annuity trust documents so that you can keep your home and use it and leave the remainder to a charity of your choice. And then we'll look at a final estate transfer value chart that shows before and after so you can see how your plan is working out just fine. So the overall outcome in this executive summary is to eliminate your cash flow deficit. That's huge. That's step one. We're going to reduce your lifetime taxes. We're going to strengthen retirement security, protect against major risks, maintain financial independence for the rest of both your lives. And we'll pass wealth efficiently to children chosen charities. Like I said, keeping the federal government's tax fingers and rules and statutes out of your business. This plan will provide clear steps for recommendations, really. Implementation and ongoing monitoring will be there every step of the way. At different steps along the way, if you choose to go with our recommended plan, we will have to get you in touch with trust experts, CPAs, and an investment person to make sure we are making correct assumptions and doing everything appropriately for you. Any questions on the overall executive summary of your plan, and does it still sound okay?
Yes, it does.
All right. We'll move on to cash flow and net worth. And just a heads up, we'll take a break about halfway through, maybe half hour in, and then we'll refocus and reconvene in 5 to 10 minutes after that. All right, so in the cash flow section, and I'm going to be going over this page by page just so you can see what you need to look at when you go look at this, because right now I'm throwing a lot of information at you, but you can go back here and see how everything came about, what the words behind it mean, such as cash flow and net worth. You'll be able to see our recommendations. You'll get to see alternative recommendations, which you may like better, you may not. We tried to make our recommendations section what we want you to do. We tried to keep that as far as what will fall closest to what you want. The alternatives don't necessarily meet all of those, but do meet the goals and may make you think about something you hadn't thought about before. So every section will have the overview. And this basically what this is saying here is that we're just looking at your cash flow situation, what's coming in, what's coming out, how you can shift, and how things happen when you get into retirement. With the goal actually ultimately of continuing to support Elaine and Eric, funding the grandkids' education, traveling in retirement, leaving something to charity, and leaving a meaningful legacy. Here's the definition section. The cash flow section was the longest. We actually had to bring subtopics in. So we broke the definitions under cash flow into different subject matter areas just so they fit within each section. So the cash flow net worth, assets and liabilities, we're looking at those. You have your investment and accounts definitions. You have your retirement accounts and retirement planning. And we pulled all these definitions either from IRS publications, specific policies, and government statutes and codes. For educational planning, we gave you several options here, but the one we're going to be going over, which works best for you, is that 529 plan. Here's the risk management and insurance definitions. We'll go over risk management and life insurance, term life, permanent life, the life insurance trust, disability insurance, and property and casualty. There's your healthcare and long-term care definitions. We have income tax concepts. See, these are things that have to do with really your investments. We have some things here like tax credits and tax deductions that will go more into your income taxes and IRS publications, but the rest are investment concepts. We'll cover estate and legacy planning definitions. Those are there for you to look. The key one is going to be your beneficiary designations, which in your case are Eric and Elaine. We did not talk about making Eric, Elaine, plus the 2 grandkids beneficiaries. So we'll assume Unless you tell me different, we'll assume that your beneficiaries are going to be your kids and we'll expect your kids to take care of your grandkids. Here's the charitable planning section. And these are just some definitions that'll help you review the recommendations we've given to you with the charitable remainder annuity trust and your charitable giving. Your assumptions, and this will go over the entire document as far as assumptions go. We use the software called eMoney to do your projections, and we set inflation at 2.5%. And this is basically for expenses, property values, and vehicle replacements. Your income grows at 2%. We've set that. We set your life expectancies at 92 and 96. David, your risk score 70. Mary, yours is still 60. You're married filing jointly. Your retirement contributions stay the same. We're going to assume you're healthy and insurable. Texas community property rules apply. We're going to reinvest anything that your brokerage accounts make back into it and let it keep growing. We're going to talk about Social Security benefits. Your recurring expenses, they rise at 2.5% also. Medical and out-of-pocket health expenses rise at 4%. Medical's getting very expensive. Maybe send those kids to Texas Tech to be doctors. Debt payoff schedules are in accordance with the original loans. There's the mortgage at 4%, the pool's at 8%, and your cars are at 7%. We don't plan on adding any new debts. We assume your real estate values are going to grow 3%, and that's consistent with long-term housing trends, and that's from the Housing Board website. Property values will continue to rise at 2.5%. Vehicle replacement, 2.5% also. And future vehicles will assume 5-year loans at 7%. We'll adjust that as things change. We'll look at annual gifts, travel spending, and lifestyle spending based on your goals. We'll keep your cash reserves at current levels, if not increase them. No unplanned expenses are going to be added. You're going to remain in Texas. We're going to assume that your charitable giving rises by 2.5% each year. You can tell me if that's different. And we're going to all assume all financial projections assume stable economic conditions with no major disruptions. Any questions?
No.
Not at this time, no, sir.
All right, we recapped your goals. You told me nothing really has changed since we talked about last time, but you can look at your family support goals, your lifetime spending goals. We broke down your vehicle and property goals, charitable goals, and cash flow and liquidity goals, and your long-term structures as far as your outlook and goals on that. This is something new we're trying. We're breaking down your goals like that into different sections of the plan. We're hoping that this is a huge improvement over just listing all these goals one by one and having you look at all of them at once. Here's your current cash flow situation. This chart here basically shows us that you are short $65,000. That's the negative number we have to get rid of. You bring in an income of $400,000 and your expenses are at 505, and that leaves you a gap of 65,000 that we will make recommendations to quickly correct. You can review these charts and ask us any questions you may have after you get to review that. Most of your deficit comes big 3 items: your lifestyle spending, your annual gift to Elaine, your Red Raider Club membership. And you also have fixed payments that add up, and those are listed there. It's your mortgage, your personal loan, auto loan, real estate taxes, property tax, and insurance premiums. Your net worth, like we had said, was at $9.4 million. There's the breakdown of that. This chart here will show you more specifics if you want to dig down further into what's coming in and what's going out. Like I said, you can look at this net worth statement in more detail when you get home, and I'm sure we'll be talking about this one again. This is the one I get the most questions about. So I'll let you guys review that, make sure that everything looks accurate, and then we'll go into more detail on how we're going to change some of these things and what the numbers mean. All right. These are your liabilities. Earlier, we showed your inflows. These are your liabilities. And part of these payments is also what makes up your deficit, but we won't be obviously taking out of any of these. We want to stay in honor and make sure we're paying these things so the house doesn't get foreclosed and they don't come after you for the personal loan and you end up in court and you don't want to get cars repoed. So we'll take care of those and not dig into those for the $65,000 deficit you have. Here's an observation of your current situation. We talk about the deficit. I know we keep talking about that one. Well, you'll see, we're going to fix that one. And then we have the 100,000 a year annual gift to Elaine and a handful of fixed payments that'll add up. All right, so here's our cash flow and net worth planning recommendations. And all we're going to do here is offer recommendations to improve your cash flow situation by $70,000. That should more than cover the $65,000 deficit, but we added almost $5,000 extra just to make sure that we hit it and you're not hitting a deficit every year. First recommendation, to reduce dining out, entertainment, and general discretionary spending by $30,000. That may seem like a lot, but if you reduce your dining out to a couple days a week and maybe different choices, maybe not Perry's Steakhouse, but something like Outback or Sizzler or something like that. I'm showing my age by bringing up Sizzler, but or the Ponderosas of the world, but those are generally more affordable than something like a Perry. So you can make simple choices by cutting out a couple days of dining out, a couple days of going out dancing in the town, maybe just limit that to once a week, and your general discretionary spending is all other spending that isn't planned for. 30,000, when you look at the combined of it all, is not that much money to cut over and cut out, and we'll implement this over the next 3 to 6 months. This is probably the one you're going to fight me the most on, but we'll get there. Second recommendation is to reduce your overall lifestyle spending by $15,000. We'll go over the details for that one, but the explanation of it is the same. We're dropping it here by 30, we're dropping it down here by $15,000. And so that was 15,000, that's 30,000. Now we'll look here at paying off your personal loan. And you do have available cash to do that, so we can do that right away. This actually improves your cash flow by $25,000. And with those numbers, we hit the 70. Here's the cash flow impact table, and you can read, this is just more verbiage on what I talked about before. This is your cash flow, not looking too good there at a negative 65. And then we're going to bring that 65 down. We're going to reduce this by 30. This one by 15, recommendation number 2, and the personal loan, 25,000, number 3. That'll show you a surplus of $4,418, which I round up to 5,000 just for this conversation. Here's some alternative recommendations that didn't necessarily fit with what you wanted and what you told us, but this will work too. And this is the big one. The $30,000 a year Red Raider Club membership. We put this in the alternative because we know this is one you like. You've been teaching there a long time, have super important positions there, and I can see how that is going to be an important membership to keep. But that could help. We could reduce your travel budget, which we did not think that it's something you wanted to do, but that could save you about 20 grand a year doing that over the next 2 to 3 years. And the third recommendation to get us to the 70 in this alternative route is to reduce Elaine's gift by $20,000 down to 80. We can do that immediately, and this will save you 20 grand right off the top. That gives you your 70. And here's our plan for implementing and monitoring all this. This plan is just going to require step-by-step actions that you guys can take. We'll be there to help you along the way. You can follow recommendation, the normal route, or look at all our alternatives. We'll review your spending, debt payments, overall cash flow, and we'll make adjustments as needed. The key to this is going to be for us to communicate, if not monthly, quarterly, and then at least have a Zoom meeting or meet in person annually just to look at everything. And we'll ask you to bring your documents. We'll ask you to show us what your CPA is prepared for your taxes, all those kinds of things, and we'll do a thorough review every year. All right, for education planning, the big one here is the 529 plan, and we included this in your definitions. We have your cost of attendance in there too. Um, we have your contributions. The 529 plan is going to need an owner, which is one or both of you, and it's going to need the beneficiary, which is going to be whichever child is going to be attending school. Like I said, we'll speak to a professional and get that all set up appropriately. There's also a qualified tuition program, which we defined here. We're going to go with just the standard 529, but there's more options here, and you can look at the qualified expenses of what that 529 can pay for. So that's more definitions there. You can go back and ask any questions you may have. There are a few things we did not recommend, but there are UTMA and UGMA accounts that's for minors too. And here's the assumptions. We're going to tech. Inflation's 5% annually. The 529 plan is going to grow at 8%. John begins 7 years from now. Lisa begins 12 years from now. We're going to assume 4 years of college. And we're bringing your 529 contributions as a withdrawal. So we'll pay some capital gains on anything coming out of that brokerage account. But long term, it'll fund their education. It's just the easiest way to do it. And we're assuming no financial aid or scholarships. So that'll be a bonus if these children end up being able to qualify for some scholarships or some financial aid. Goals for education is to fund all 4 years using the 529, minimizing the impact on your long-term financial plan to include retirement. And we're going to ensure that education also doesn't mess with your cash flow stability. That's why we want to fund it from the brokerage account, so we're not putting in money every month. Currently, that you have no plans for funding their education. Well, you have plans, but you have no financial plan for funding John and Lisa's education. So our 529 plan will cover that. Here's the analysis and the observations behind it. You can read that more in depth when you get home, and we can go over any questions you have. This section here is pretty self-explanatory, so we're going to go ahead and move on to the recommendations, and here's what we're going to do. We're going to contribute $92,000 to John's plan in a 529 coming out of your brokerage account. This will ensure that the value grows if it grows at 8% to the amount needed to fund his education. Then we're going to contribute $80,000 from that brokerage account to Lisa's 529 plan. We'll start that next year in 2027. So we'll do John first, we'll wait a year, and then we'll pull another $80,000 to go into Lisa's. And then finally, we're going to fund the 529 plans. This is just where we thought about getting them from your retirement accounts, but we're just going to get them out of your brokerage account as you don't have any early withdrawal penalties. And this will take us from our current outcome of not having any finances in place for for John and Lisa's education to what we just talked about, having put in 92,000 in and the 80,000 in, and that'll be fully funding their education. We'll talk about their gift later. The alternative recommendations were to contribute to each 529 plan annually, but that was going to take about $15,000 per year. So we put it in the alternative, not in the recommended areas. We also discussed partially funding the 529 plan and then paying the remaining with future income while they're at college. But that'll affect your cash flow when they're going to school. So we didn't really want to do that one. And then we do a smaller lump sum and then annual contributions to get there. So that's kind of a hybrid of fully funding and just annually funding. This would be partially funding with some annual contributions or monthly contributions, however you want to look at that. And the plan, with the plan, all we'll do is once you get them set up and we withdraw from the brokerage account, we'll just monitor them. We'll follow them. Some years they may make 10%, some years they may make 6%, but the average we're looking for is 8%. The economy seems to be back and kicking with some recent changes. So I'm thinking that through 2028, you're going to do way better than the 8%, but that we may make up for it if things change in 2028 and we get another administration and the inflation goes up or down and maybe better or worse. And here's where we explain, you can read this through later. This is where we explain why we preferred the main recommendations over the alternatives. And the main answer is we wanted to follow your wishes and not impact your retirement lifestyle. Let me see. Now let's quickly review this investment plannings and then we'll take a break. Here's the overview of it. Your current Schwab account. That's the big one. I know we keep talking about that one, but you have over 2 million in there and it's heavy into bonds. As you can see, more than 90% is in bonds, which is very safe, but it does not give you the gains you really need. So sometimes taking some risk is a little bit better because you may earn one year a little lower than the bonds, but you may earn triple the following years. Stocks and other investments do perform better than just bonds. Bonds is kind of a safety net. It should not be 99% of your investment portfolio. So we'll diversify that. We want to make the switch from 90% bonds to about 20% in bonds or cash. And we want to move 80% into your stocks and diversify them with large, mid, small, and international mix of stock funds. Just this change alone, just going from 90, 99 into bonds to 20 into bonds and putting 80% into stocks, will realize, based on our projections, a $1.5 million gain more than had you left it all in the stocks and bonds, which is only $3.7 million, jumping up to $5.2 million. And these projections, part of the assumptions is that this is through age 96. Here's the definitions for some of the investment stuff, your asset allocations. We talked about diversifications in stocks and bonds and cash. Your growth portfolio is just the mix, and it'll emphasize stocks, which is what we've done to increase your long-term returns. You had what's more appropriate called a conservative portfolio. Here's our assumptions. The plan covers 30 years, projections until age 96. Roth conversions, we're going to do those in 2028. We're assuming that we're extending David and Mary's your work for 1 year at 75% consultant rate. Let me see. We're going to reduce expenses $10,000 a year. And here's the changes we had talked about by moving that bond stock ratio on your brokerage account. All right, real quick on the goals. We're going to improve the portfolio over time. We changed the brokerage allocation. We agreed on that. We're going to increase your lifetime value gain by making that switch. We're going to help your taxes by making a Roth conversion in 2028 for both of you. We're going to work an extra year. You may consider to do this more often. You may like the 75% consultant work, but we'll at least assume 1 year. We're going to look at your spending and try to lower those by 10 grand a year. And we'll make sure your investments meet your time criteria. This is an analysis of your current situation. We've talked about that. A lot of this is repetitive, but a lot of this is necessary in the different buckets we use. And this is the recommendations. We already talked about this, the brokerage account, moving that in more into stocks. We can talk more about this chart when you get a chance to look at it, but we went from all being over here in these bonds to this very diversified mix. We talked about the Roth conversions in 2028. These are the projections. This is base. This is after we make the changes. As you can see, it went up almost $2 million. And this last recommendation is the 75% consultant work, time and value. Yeah, we just went over all the recommended options. There are some alternative options that we talked about. There's some recommendations. We'll talk this more in depth later in retirement. Moving your Social Security to 67 versus 65. We can also look at 70. And then implementation and monitoring is just making the switches that we need to make and then watching the investments either perform very well or not so well, and we'll make changes and adjustments on the not so well. If you don't have any questions right now, we will go ahead and take a short break.
Okay,
All right.
thank you.
Thank you.